So I just got a wood burner recently. It actually helps a lot with the painting uh, when they bleed into each other. I had painting issues myself where I would have runs or I couldn't keep a straight line properly. And I found that the wood burner really helps a lot in this sort of situation. Um, ah, so yeah, these are a couple of the guys that I've been. So the one on the with the Christmas tree at the Christmas farm, that was painted before I had my wood burner, and the grumpy looking one, he's painted after I purchased my wood burner, and the lines are a lot better. They're more defined, and it comes out a lot nicer, I find. I also use the body from Frank from Carving Country Folk, and I put them in all sorts of different positions too. And this is uh, just my carving before I start burning it. And I got a new knife, uh, the OCC or OCTT, whatever. Uh, I really like it. It's quite nice. So that's just him kind of getting all in position, a couple different side views. And the next one is my wood burner that I bought. Uh, this is, it, it's not really a special wood burner. I just bought is like a $30 one on Amazon. Uh, it came with a whole bunch of different tips, some stencils, and uh, you can solder with it. So I've been just experimenting with different tips as I go. Um, and sometimes one tip's better than the other for like if I want to do a straight line, or I've been wood burning in the stubble on their beards. Um, and there's a small little tip that's really good for that, I found. I've never carved out the beard like Murray did with his there. Um, any any questions yet, or just
So on this particular wood burner, do you have like this one looks kind of like cylindrical, the bit at the end? Do you have one that's kind of like a razor, like a
yeah,
sharp one as well? Okay, no, that's great. And does it have a temperature control, Lee?
yeah, it goes from like 200 to 450 or something, and I usually try to keep it around 350, 400 because it actually gives me like it chars really nicely, and depending on how hard I press it or hold it there, I can kind of control the amount that I want. But if it's a little bit less than that, it doesn't quite like burn it properly, I found. Um, but it for the $30, it it's it's been really good to me so far. So so this is I'm just going through and just burning in the extra details like the belt loops, the buttons, his name tag on his sweater, on his shirt there, uh, the fly on his jeans, his little pockets, and then on all the seams, I try to go and do just a little dot next to the line, and then that way it kind of acts as the stitching, and uh, it actually adds a whole extra depth I found to it. Like if you do the seam line on the pants and then the stitching next to it, it kind of gives it that I don't know. It gives me a extra feel to it, like more. There's like something there, you know?
Just more interest.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, so then this is I've just kind of completed it, and then the whole back, do the back pockets, the seam on the on where your butt is. Uh, I have a trouble with the shoes. That's all my shoes kind of just either look like work boots or I have like trouble with where like your laces would be. That I would like to get better at that. And I guess maybe that's just more carving and more focused to the because usually by the time I get to this stage of the carving, I'm kind of anxious to actually get it like painted and bring some life to it. So I tend to skip over the shoes a bit, but yeah. And then yeah, so then this is his face and his head, and I've done his hat, and his little pom-pom on the back, and I would burn in the eyebrows so that they have that that grading where it starts kind of straight up and down at the center and then kind of goes outwards. Try to do that, and that's all with the wood burner. And then with the teeth, I just go very lightly in between the teeth, so you can see a mark, and it shows up later when I paint, which is kind of nice.
You did a nice job here on the wrinkles too, you know, just a couple little wrinkles where they should be. That looks nice.
Thank you. Yeah. And then like maybe some more, I should probably do some more in like where the elbows are and stuff like that. But these are things that I think about after I've kind of already done it.
Can I make a comment for you, Lee, before you go too far on that? But the fact is that when you follow Mark long enough, you'll find Mark is the detailist master. And he gets down to the shoes, and he'll spend a week on one shoe, Mark, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
But I think that's the effect Mark has had on me, because I know that feeling you have when you put so many hours into it, and you get to that last little bit, you say, I'm nuts. I'm not going to fix it. I'm just let it go. But that's something that when I follow Mark and see what the detail he's put in his carvings, it's made me slow down and look closer and carve better. And using the wood burner is something I do quite often to get the extra detail. And it's just the fine points are important. But the one thing I mentioned about the wood burning, when you're doing the detailing here, that the thing that happens with wood burning is that each kind of wood will have a different kind of temperature it needs. So that softer kind of wood, like a basswood, you've got to really turn the heat down compared to something harder. So it's just a comment on that part.
Lee, I think you did a really nice job here on the wood burning. Well, one of the things you didn't mention though, and you may have done this or you may not have done it, we've talked about how to get rid of like fuzzy sections on a carving. We always invariably do a carving and we're trying to carve into a really tight V or something. We can't get those little fibers cleanly out of that. A wood burner like the one you have with that razor tip on it, that flat tip at a low temperature, just running that along there will burn that wood away. If you have a little fuzzy somewhere that you just can't seem to cut away, every time you go to cut it, another fuzzy is produced, just dragging that flat razor straight edge at a low temperature over it will burn it away. It doesn't leave a super black mark that you can't paint over. It just burns that away for you. And it's I find it a helpful thought to use that wood burner to really clean up the carving of any little burrs that you might have. You might want to think about that if you haven't already.
I've noticed that when I am doing the wood burning, that it kind of helps ease it away, especially like between the arms and the body. I always end up having fuzzies in there, and this has kind of cleared it out a bit when I'm like, especially where the elbow changes direction, like from the hand, I always end up getting a bit of like chunky fuzz in there, and this actually cleared it right out when I went over, which is very nice.
Yeah, and you don't have to really do it at a very high temperature that leaves a black mark that you can't paint over with a wash. It just leaves a little discoloration, but it's easily covered with even a light wash of paint. So it's just something that everybody should give a try anyway.
Hey, Lee.
Yeah.
I think your progression between the two there is amazing, and I used to sell wood burners with my daughter when she had her business, and I only had a basic, and now I have the razor tip $500 version because I traded some of my daughter's company's supplies because she didn't have the company anymore. But you make a good point. Like, if somebody's not going to get into pyrography, which is making pictures with wood burners, I don't see the point in buying a high-end unit. And $30, that's pretty good price. And when you say you have all those tips, you can see the progression in your work. Even the painting is really amazing. I can't wait. I've been getting back to carving, and I can't wait to do this. That's why I get on with you guys to get to get me going. So I'll great work.
Thank you. And then this is just thank you very much, actually. So this is the next stages where I was just adding colors and washes in. So you can see I've just only put on the green and the white in this one, and he kind of looks like a zombie. And then the next one over, I've added the red, and then he gets a little bit more lively each time. And then the final one is I've done all the painting, and yeah. So like, but it helps because it doesn't allow I did light washes where the paint, I mix like it's like two or three drops of the color with about 10 or 12 drops of water, and then I get this nice runny. It'll drip off the brush, and then when I touch it to the wood, it just absorbs in and goes up to the burn line and stops, which gives you that really nice crisp kind of cut there.
Mhm. That looks really good. And experiment with that, Lee. That's what I ended up having to do is, how thin a wash do you really need? You can actually get a fairly thick wash, and still that burn line will stop it from bleeding one color into another. So, play with that, and you'll get a sense of how thick a wash you can get away with.
And then after I did that, I on the last picture, I went back over him and I dry brushed the colors to kind of give it a roundness. Like the green is a little bit darker at the bottom of his cuff than at the edge. Right there, I just dry brush it all around the edges just to give it a second dimension to it, like a more fullness. And I went over the whole carving with the red, the white, the green, anywhere where it was should be curving or coming up into something. I tried to just dry brush it to give it that little extra depth.
Very nice.
Oh, and then this is my base for this carving, and I just wood burned in a simple grid line because it's going to be tiles for the scene. So it's the tiled floors for the scene, and I just burnt that in. I think it was a piece of I don't know. My buddy at work just gave it to me. I just burned it in nice and hot, so I would have like a good deep groove after. And then that's the toilet. So I just carved a toilet, and that was a tricky carve because then I was thinking I got to have those little S pipes at the bottom, and how does it wrap around properly? So that was an interesting thing to think of in my head. And then this is the final picture of Mac the maintenance elf at the North Pole, and he's got his mop bucket, a plunger, and he's cleaning the backed up toilet from all the elves.
Now you sent me quite an email with the backstory of Mac here. Are you gonna fill the other guys in a bit?
There's a whole story about Mac. If you check Instagram or my Facebook page, you'll find it there. And I'm actually thinking I might even write an entire children's book about it, and then instead of illustrations, do little wood carving scenes like diorama style, and then I could make Mac doing each thing in the illustration, and then have the. So I was thinking I might do that. So